you're watching Your Trades on ET Now with me, Shreyansi Singh, and with me is Priyanka Uppal. And over the next half an hour, we'll help you make sense of the day gone by in trade. Firstly, let's take a look at the market action. We, of course, ended the day around 25,380. And we, of course, started the day at a record high for both the Nifty as well as Sensex. You also had the energy and media leading the way. Those were the two indices that were leading the way, and the metals and realty pack held up quite smartly as well. It was FMCG that was rather on the back foot. When you take a look at the top losers from that pack, you do have Titan, Britannia as well as HUL that make it to that list. Rather subdued move coming in from the pack as well. Some of those power names really powered through. So NTPC, Power Grid are the ones that I'm talking about, and some of those metal names as well. The likes of JSW Steel, Hindalco as well buzzing away in trade, and that's the kind of move that we saw on those counters as well. But it was a decent day for the Nifty Bank and a few of those banking names as well. Axis Bank, Kotak Bank, ICICI Bank going home with gains of about 1% each, but SBI perhaps was the only underperformer in that space, in that banking pack as well. The shares of Bajaj Housing Finance, of course, were the ones in the spotlight today, listed on the exchanges with a premium of 114%, and that's the kind of debut that we saw. The stock debuted around 150 on both BSE as well as NSE against an issue price of 70 rupees, and we also saw a little bit of a rub-off impact coming in on the likes of Bajaj Finance as well as Bajaj Finserv. So those were also the buzzers in trade today, and that largely is the list that I have in terms of the market action, Priyanka.
Absolutely. In fact, if you see, Shreyansi, there were three key dominant factors because, of course, there was thin liquidity, we have heightened volatility, and, of course, uncertainty over Fed's rate cut in this week. That's what dominated the market moves today. We lost the initial gains, but then we did pull back. We saw a smart pullback. Banks did fairly well today, especially the private set of banks. Metals came back into it, and a lot of subsectors. In fact, standout gainers came in from exchange counters. Firecrackers clearly, which we saw on BS stocks like BSE, MCX, in fact, CDSL also, and the YTD moves also, if you see for these stocks, they have been up more than 50-60% for all these stocks. But BSE was clearly a standout gainer today with gains of more than 19%. Lot many other subsectors were there. There was sugar counters, of course, the regulatory move in sugar space that helped. Government has allowed sugar mills to produce rectified spirit as well as ENA from heavy molasses and sugarcane juice. That made the entire sugar space more sweeter. Not just sugar, in fact, rice counters are also buzzing in trade today. And let's not forget the other commodities, industrial base metals. So the softer commodities as well as the base, ferrous, non-ferrous. We saw a lot of action in commodities, metals, realty. These were the packs which were buzzing in trade today. Other set of news, Adani Power, Adani Green, they both were up in trade today because they've received a letter of intent from Maharashtra government ISCOM for 6,600 megawatt hybrid solar and thermal power supply. That's what lifted the sentiment for these two stocks also. Overall, a good day for a couple of sectors here, but of course, defensive names were at the back foot like FMCG, consumption. These were the themes typically which were playing out. Bajaj Twins were trading in pressure today. Of course, Bajaj Housing Finance listing gains. It did saw a bumper listing, but the kind of moves we've seen in Bajaj, both the Bajaj counters, Bajaj Finance and Finserv, it was a little bit of profit booking on both the counters here today. But then now let's make Ruchit also join in, our technical expert for the day today, to help us understand that what is in for index traders from here. Ruchit, welcome to Your Trades. Of course, index traders, it is again in hands of bulls have taken a complete charge of index. You've seen another high record level today as well on Sensex and Nifty. But then what to do now? Are you going to trail your stop loss, still hold your long position, or would you advise profit booking at these levels?
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon, Priyanka. Well, Priyanka, if we talk about the trend, then there's no doubt that the broader trend for the market still remains positive. During last week itself, we witnessed a sharp move on the weekly expiry session of Nifty, where Nifty marked a new record high. Since then, last two trading sessions, Friday and today, although the index has been trading within a narrow range, but the overall market breadth still remains healthy. So I think until we see any kind of reversal over there, the short-term trend remains positive. And of course, the big event that we would see going ahead on Wednesday evening is of the Fed policy. I think based on the global market's reaction to that policy outcome, that's where we would see the next trended phase coming in. But until we see and breakdown of any kind of important supports, which are now placed around 25,200 and positional supports at 25,000, I think it's better to trade in the direction of the trend. So we anticipate that markets would continue its up move, and 25,500 is the first hurdle that we are watching for. And once that is crossed, one can expect levels around 25,700 also.
Counters that you're keeping on your radar then, Ruchit, because it was NTPC that was really powering through. I see that that does make it to your list then.
Yes, a couple of buy recommendations to my list, and one of them is NTPC. So primarily, this is one of the stock which has seen a staggered uptrend and up move in a staggered manner in last few months. The recent correction also, which we saw, the prices correction was not supported by any kind of high volumes. And after taking support around its 89 EMA, it seems to have resumed its uptrend. So the risk reward ratio is favorable for taking some contra buys over here. So at current levels, we advise going long with stock below 399 for potential targets around 430. And my second pick is a buy call in DMart. But this is also one stock where recently we have seen a breakout from its previous swing high resistances. Last 2-3 trading sessions, some pullback move has been there, but no volume based selling in this pullback move, whereas the breakouts were supported by good volume. So I think such pullback moves are good opportunities. Those who have missed the on the previous occasions, to buy the stock. So at current levels, we anticipate the stock to go higher after retesting this breakout zone. So one can go long over here with stop below 5,145 for potential targets around 5,420.
All right, NTPC, the top gainer of the day. Ruchit finds a target of 430 in the stock, and the other stock he recommends is DMart, Avenue Supermart. Thanks very much, Ruchit, for both your trade recommendation. And now we have Srishti joining in after a short break. Srishti is here, back with us in the studio to tell us that the two stocks that she's highlighted on the charts. Srishti.
Well, certainly two of the breakout stocks that we wish to highlight today. First up, let's have a look at United Breweries, because all these alcohol beverage counters were up and high in today's trading session, and one such breakout is what we have spotted in United Breweries, because this particular stock, as you can see, was always facing resistance around that 2,100 odd rupees level. But recently and even today, the stock made a strong comeback with a strong green candle the time it started the day, and it just built on to those particular gains, breaking above its key resistance of in the previous times that we have seen for United Breweries, now seen to be trading above its all key moving averages, and hence the breakout. Moving on to the next counter, then the metals were shining bright, and from the pack we have picked up Nalco, because onto the fundamental side you will see that the dollar index was seen to be trading on the lower side, and indeed there's an inverse relation with the metal stocks, and Nalco was also seen to be shining bright. What you will see is that the stock has been gaining for some times now. This is not the proper chart of Nalco that we are seeing. This is the same United Breweries chart, but on the Nalco on the daily basis, if you will see, then the stock has made the third straight day of strong gains for itself. Not just that, is seen to be trading above its all key moving averages. So these are the two stocks that we wish to highlight on the breakout side. Back to you.
All right, well, it does look like Nalco was really shining bright in trade, and it was United Breweries that was also chugging along to those gains. But moving on to the word from the wise then, with the economy readying itself for pickup in capex cycles and need for credit, is it time to buy into banks? If yes, should it be the private or PSU banks? Let's understand the investment rationale with ValueQuest's Ravi Dharamshi then.
Asset quality is as pristine as it can be for the lenders. However, I think post 21, there was a rally from the undervalued stocks within the banking sector. Going forward, the cycle is going to take a turn for the better in terms of re-leveraging cycle starts for the economy. If you can see the last 3-4 years, the corporate profitability has been fantastic, but at the same time, lending has not picked up commensurately. I feel now we are on the verge of that private sector capex cycle picking up, and that means the releveraging in the economy will start. In a scenario like that, where the credit is growing fast, it is going to be the leaders that are going to do well, which is the private sector banks. So the reversion to mean trade in the PSU banks, in my opinion, is pretty much done. They will manage to raise funds. They have to raise funds because they are all at around 15-16x leverage. And they will have to bring that leverage down. So there will be some dilution over there. And that dilution naturally means that returns from here are going to be more tepid than they have been in the last couple of years. Private sector, on the other hand, is well capitalized, clean balance sheet, and have capital to grow as well going forward. Barring a couple of the larger banks where there are some transition related issues, the leadership transition related issues, I think as a group, as a cohort, private sector banks are likely to do well over the PSU going forward.
All right, so private capex picking up. That's what Ravi Dharmashi has to say on this conversation. That's a key point which we've taken now. We stay for a short break here. More to come on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching your trades, and now the big story of the day. Of course, that happens to be the Bajaj Housing Finance bumper listing. And after the bumper listing, the bumper debut on Dalal Street, 18 Hours Ankur Mishra spoke to Sanjeev Bajaj, the chairman of Bajaj Housing Finance. Let's listen into what he had to say on the debut and the growth plans for the company.
We've had very strong growth, but this is in the background of a very strong, consistently growing economy. And if you look at credit cycles in India, we expect steady credit growth at 12 to 15% in the housing industry. And on the back of that, we are enthused that we can continue to grow strongly. The economy is showing very strong tailwinds, and that's what gives us this comfort. Shareholders should expect a business that grows with high quality, a high level of corporate governance, that brings the right blend of technology in this particular business, and sustained growth with high focus on quality of the business and a diversified book is what we look forward to building.
All right, then that was a word coming in from the management. Moving on, then let's get you some more important commentary. And it was Dixon Tech that was buzzing away in trade, gains of about 7.4% coming in for that one. We also caught up with Saurabh Gupta, the CFO of the company, who expects strong revenues from IT products by financial year 27. In fact, he also adds that the company is eyeing 10 to 15% market share over the next 2 to 3 years. Listen into what else he had to say then.
IT is the next trigger for our growth, and the opportunity potential in IT vertical looks very promising. We think the revenue potential can be immense in the next couple of years, but since it will take time for ramp up, stabilization and all, so next financial year, yeah, potentially it can be revenues of all the brands put together should be somewhere in the range of around 3 to 3,500 crores. Potentially, we think the FY27 we can have a very strong revenues in this vertical, because generally it takes some time initially to ramp up as well. We feel similarly that over the next anywhere between 2 to 3 years, we should be able to capture at least 10 to 15% market share in this category as well, with decent amount of backward integration, because the way the whole PLI is structured is that you need to continue to invest in more backward integration. So what we have committed to the government is revenues of 48,000 crores cumulatively over a period of 6 years, doing a capex of almost 250 odd crores. And clearly this large 4 brands, which are among the top 5 brands globally, have a combined market share of almost 65% in the Indian market. So gradually and slowly we'll continue to take higher share of wallet from these customers. And definitely this is a very large opportunity for us over the next couple of years, I would say.
So the opportunity size is huge, and he was categorically talking about IT segment as well as laptop segment. But then now moving on and talking about some of the crude derivatives who are benefiting from with the fall of crude prices. We did caught up earlier in the day today with Rajiv Rajgopal, who is the managing director for Akzo Nobel India. He spoke about the business outlook for the company and what are the near-term targets for the northern and the eastern part of the country. Let's listen into what exactly he said.
For us, we've got a very clear focus strategy to deliver growth and be in the top 2 in the incremental growth. As you've seen in the quarter that went by, we are focused on that at this point of time. And between all our verticals of paints and coatings, we are trying to make sure we do it. How are we going about it? You may have just read. We've just announced an addition of 5,000 ton capacity in our Gwalior for our powder business. That's one of our fast-growing business. And now with the capacity augmented at Gwalior, we should be able to serve our customers, particularly in the northern and eastern part of the country. And the team is doing a fabulous job. The same for our paints business, our marine and protective business. Our focus is really to drive the growth and be in the top 2 on growth.
All right, then moving on, we also saw some sweet gains coming in for some of those sugar counters, the likes of Balrampur Chini, where the government has allowed sugar mills to produce rectified spirit as well as extra neutral alcohol from sugarcane juice as well as B-heavy molasses. And that was the trigger there. We in fact caught up with Deepak Balani, the Director General at ISMA, who expects the government to decide on MSP, ethanol pricing and exports very soon. He also believes that the country will have sufficient stock and it is the right time to export. Listen to what else he had to say then.
Expecting certain ethanol price correction for the cane juice, the B heavy and C heavy, and we are hoping for the decision by the government very soon. We had proposed a MSP of around 39 rupees. So that discussion is going on, but we are hoping that the decision again on this also will come soon. We are expecting this anytime. Hoping that government will allow the export very soon, considering a very high closing stock of around 85 lakh tons this year. And then perhaps our ISMA estimates say that we will have around 333 lakh tons next year. And taking into account 285 lakh tons of domestic consumption plus 45 lakh tons of ethanol diversion, we will have sufficient stock. And perhaps this is the right time when we can at least export some 10 lakh tons now, followed by again 10 lakh tons maybe in December.
Okay, so export decision on sugar export could come very soon. That's what the key highlight from interaction with the ISMA as a regulatory body. Let's go ahead. There were a couple of other stocks also which were buzzing in trade. Many of the names from the capital goods space, of course, sugar, rice, and stocks which were on the back of news were buzzing. The whole list of stocks is with Gaurav, who's joining us. Share the list about all stocks you have.
Well, yes. First, let's talk about Bajaj Finance. This stock was up almost 10% on Friday, and it was up in today's trade as well. And the reason being that there was a bubble trade which happened where 1.6% of the equity traded hands, and we have got some marquee investors who bought the shares like Abu Dhabi Investment Authority and Ashoka India Equity Fund. Apart from that, let's also watch out for Adani Power and Adani Green, because both the companies have received letter of intent from Maharashtra State Discom for supply of around 6,600 megawatt of hybrid solar as well as thermal power. So Adani Green will supply almost 5,000 megawatt of solar power, and Adani Power will supply almost 1,500 megawatt of thermal power. Apart from that, let's also focus on Thermax, because company has received an order worth over 500 crore rupees to supply 2 boilers to Jindal Energy. The duration of the order is going to be for 25 months, and as a result, we saw some uptick in this counter as well. Next, let's focus on some of the sugar stocks, because government has allowed sugar mills to produce rectified spirits and ENA from sugarcane juice as well as B-heavy molasses, and as a reason, we saw some sugar names like EID Parry being in focus and up in trade today. Next, let's talk about some FMCG names like HUL and GCPL, because India has raised the basic import tax on crude and refined edible oils almost by 20 percentage points, and as a result, we may see some contraction in the margins, and we saw some pressure in the stock price as well. Lastly, let's also watch out on Macrotech, because Nomura has initiated with buy rating and a target price of 1,600 rupees on this stock, because they see strong earnings visibility and they also anticipate earnings CAGR of around 20% and pre-sales CAGR of around 20% over the next 2 years. And as a result, we saw this stock was also up in trade today. So definitely watching out on all these counters on the back of the news flow that we received today.
Thanks, Gaurav. So that was a long list of stocks that were buzzing away in trade today. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Your Trades on ET Now. From me, Shreyanti Singh, Priyanka Uppal, as well as the entire team that put this show together. Thank you so much for tuning in.